was so bad. And yeah, similar to the last one, it's going to be like in the most recent years, last like 15, 20 years or so. Let me know in the comments below if you think your club, I've chosen the wrong transfer window and it should be another transfer window. And at the end of the video, I'll probably decide, like I did in the best one, which out of all of them was the worst transfer window in Premier League history. So, make sure to subscribe and help us on our road to 3,000 subscribers. And yeah, let's just get straight into it. So, we begin with Arsenal. Their worst window, the summer of 2015. If there was a window to sum up the frustrations with Arsenal's passivity in the market, it was the summer of 2015, when their only signing was a 33-year-old goalkeeper. Now, even though that goalkeeper was Petr Cech, who later kept 16 clean sheets to win the Golden Glove that campaign, that season was one of massive opportunity. Arsenal's traditional rivals faltered and Arsenal finished second, 10 points behind Leicester City. And there has always been a thought of what if had they invested in even one outfield player that summer. A close runner-up is the summer window of 2011. Fabregas, Nasri and Clichy all leaving despite being vital parts of Wenger's side. Arsenal then signing Gervinho and Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, although they did sign in Mikel Arteta and Per Mertesacker, which saved it from not being here. There's been quite a few bad windows, particularly in the 2010s for Arsenal's, but 2015 topped all, because if they had just signed a couple decent players, it's very likely Arsenal would have been Premier League champions. Aston Villa, their worst window, is also the summer of 2015. The summer of 2015 was when everything went wrong for Aston Villa. The season started and basically ended in Bournemouth on the opening day, where new signing Rudy Gestede scored the only goal to give Villa 3 points, and the only sense of optimism in the entire season, as Villa finished bottom of the Premier League with just 17 points. That opening day win served as a false dawn, with Micah Rich as captain and one of 12 new signings that joined. Gestede came and went. The three Jordans, Ayew, Vertu and Amavi, became annoyingly good as soon as they left Villa, as did a young Adama Traore. Scott Sinclair was already on the decline, and Julian Lescaut's time at Villa would be known for his tweeting of a new car immediately after relegation was sealed. Idrissa Gueye was the only good buy, and it was a bleak summer that ultimately cost Aston Villa their place in the Premier League. Bournemouth, their worst window, the summer of 2016. Bournemouth's hit rate since their first promotion to the Premier League in 2015 has been pretty good, based on recruiting unearthed gems and recently young talent from abroad. Still, their summer of 2016, while it didn't necessarily have huge consequences, wasn't really a good one looking back. They sold Gold Hero and key man Matt Ritchie to Newcastle for a pretty decent fee, but proceeded to spend that money on Jordan Ibe for almost 15 million. Ibe would play just 25 times that season and score 0 goals. Over the course of 4 seasons, Ibe would actually just get 3 goals, and overall was one of the worst signings Bournemouth have made. They also got his then Liverpool teammate Brad Smith, who spent just 1 year at the club before leaving, making just 5 first-team appearances. Lise Mousset, a promising striker from France, joined and would score just 3 goals over the course of 3 seasons, and annoyingly do pretty well as soon as he left. There were some hits with Lewis Cook, Aaron Ramsdale and also Nathan Ake joining on loan, but overall it was a very, very wasteful summer from Bournemouth. summer of 2022. Fans thought the 2020 window had been a disaster after Brentford lost the playoff final and then sold Ollie Watkins and Said Benrahma. But Ivan Toney and Vitaly Yanov arrived, and Brentford finished the season by winning the playoffs, so it looks far better in hindsight. The reverse logic could be applied to 2022. Keane Lewis-Potter, Aaron Hickey and Mikkel Damsgaard were signed for around 45 million combined, but injuries and poor form meant they all have not shown their best and been nowhere near 45 million. Thomas Dragosha arrived as competition for David Raya, but left after 2 years, having made more appearances for Albania than Brentford during that time. Ben Mee joined for a free, which was an astute signing, but Christian Eriksen turned down a contract extension and left for Man United. It may be too soon to definitively call this their worst window in history, as potentially Damsgaard, Hickey, Potter could come good, but it certainly stands out as being below par by Brentford's lofty standards over the last decade. Brighton, their worst window, the January of 2018. Brighton's business has not always been as good as it has been in the majority of recent windows. The outcomes were sketchy when they were still finding their feet as a Premier League club after promotion in 2017. In January 2018, they splashed out around £14 million on Jurgen Locadia, which is a club record fee at that time. The forward proved to be a big disappointment though, playing only 46 games and scoring just 6 goals. Brighton make big profits now, but they were still incurring substantial losses back then, so it was a costly mistake. Back then as well, their Premier League status was also far from secure, so it could have really turned out to be even more disastrous had they gone down, and it was not really money they could afford to be wasting on players. Chelsea, their worst window, the summer of 2017. The disastrous summer of 2017 still sparks shudders in Chelsea supporters. Fresh from winning the Premier League title, Antonio Conte felt he had earned a big voice in Chelsea's recruitment. He submitted a list of high-profile targets including Romelu Lukaku, Virgil van Dijk, Alexandre Radja-Nainggolan and Kyle Walker. Chelsea tried to bring Lukaku back from Everton, but were outflanked by Mourinho's Man United before pivoting to Alvaro Morata of Real Madrid, which the less said about, the better. Conte also had to settle for Davide Zappacosta, Timu Bakayoko and Danny Drinkwater, with the latter pair becoming liabilities long before they were released as free agents. The sale of Nemanja Matic to United for 40 million aged well, but deprived Conte of vital midfield experience. The club also took a loss, sending Juan Guardado back to Serie A and sold Nathan Ake to Bournemouth for 20 million, much less than his peak transfer value. Literally every single signing Chelsea made that season would go on to become a flop. I am not really sure you can top that, to be honest. Okay, next we have Crystal Palace. Their worst window is also the summer of 2017. A memorable window for all of the wrong reasons, with Palace's new manager Frank de Boer sacked after just 10 days after the window closed. Just 4 games into the Premier League season, all of which his team lost, all without scoring a single goal. Mamadou Sakho joined from Liverpool for 26 million after an excellent loan, but was unable to reach those same levels again. Sharo Riedvald arrived from Ajax for 8 million, and although he proved to be an excellent mentor for the club's younger players, his contribution on the pitch was limited. He did, however, spend 7 seasons at Palace covering Loftus-Cheek impressed to such an extent on a season's loan from Chelsea that he made the England squad for the following summer, but Timothy Fosu-Mensah struggled heavily after being loaned from Man United. The squad had been insufficiently strengthened in the window, but De Boer's replacement Roy Hodgson was luckily still able to guide them to a 11th place finish. Everton, their worst window was also the summer of 2017. There is an obvious answer here for anyone who follows Everton, one that shines a light on the glaring dysfunction of the Farhad Moshiri years. Let's go back to the summer of 2017 and the arrival of not one, not two, not even three, but four number 10s in the form of Wayne Rooney, Gylfi Sigurdsson, Davy Klaassen and Nikola Vlasic. Mad, right? Well, that's what happens when so many different people are feeding into the recruitment process. The bizarre splurge left Ronald Koeman's side lacking any sort of balance, particularly out wide, and also led to financial problems later on, with pretty much all of them flopping as well. A case study on how not to do your recruitment. Fulham, their worst window the summer of 2012. There have been some bad windows at Craven Cottage in recent years. The summer of 2015 did bring in Tim Ream, Tom Gurney, but also brought 9 other new players. But the winner here is the one at the start of the 2012-13 season. It set in motion a tricky decade as Fulham sold Clint Dempsey and Moussa Dembele, the crown jewels at the time, both to Spurs, and the only signing that paid off was Dimitar Berbatov. He was a good addition, but on his own couldn't stem the tide. The window marked the start of a downward spiral, which would end in relegation the following season, and then 4 years in the Championship. Ipswich, their worst window this summer of 2020. Both of Ipswich's summer windows pre-relegation featured costly mistakes in 2001 and in 2018. But for the sheer volume of underwhelming signings, the 2020 summer window takes it. After ending the previous season 11th in League One, which is the club's lowest finish since 1953, just 3 permanent signings were made. David Cornell, Oliver Hawkins and Stephen Ward on free transfers in a feeble attempt to escape the 3rd tier. Only Ward became a regular, and striker Hawkins managed just 1 goal. All 3 left the club after just 1 season. Leicester City, their worst window the summer of 2021. After just missing out on Champions League qualification in the previous 2 seasons, Leicester were looking to push to the next level as 21-22 approached. The business they did that summer may not have set the wheels in motion for a decline which brought relegation, but it certainly was a factor. A total of 55 million was spent on Patson Daka, Yannick Vestergaard and Boubacar Samari, while Bertram joined on a free. Besides a few promising moments, Daka has not had the impact expected, and midfielder Samari has been really poor. Centre-back Vestergaard looked at first to be a disaster, although last season did pretty well in the Championship. Champions League winner Bertrand spell at Leicester was a disaster though, mostly due to injuries, and he retired this summer, aged 34. The reality, for clubs of Leicester's stature, is they must be prudent in recruitment and reinvest after selling a major asset. In the summer of 2021, they did not do that. Liverpool, their worst window the summer of 2010. Rewind 14 years to 2010-11 pre-season and Liverpool were in a mess. Rafael Benitez's reign had just ended, debts were piling up, uneven ownership and fan protests were gathering pace. Liverpool appointed Roy Hodgson as manager, and with money tight, what followed proved to be a dreadful transfer window. The hype that surrounded signing Joe Cole on a free proved misplaced as England midfielder flopped badly. Milan Jovanovic was another free agent arrival that summer who ended costing Liverpool a fortune in wages. The names Christian Bolson and Paul Konchesky still send a shiver down Liverpool fans' spine as they struggled badly and looked completely out of their depth. Raul Meireles was the only one of the new arrivals to give the club any kind of return on investment. It was all too much for star midfielder Javier Mascherano as he pushed for a move to Barcelona that window as well, and you could hardly blame him. Manchester City, their worst window the summer of 2012. City famously built on their 2011-12 Premier League title by bringing in Javi Garcia, Jacques Rodrell, Matanja Nastasic, Scott Sinclair and Maicon. Yeah, pretty bad. In fairness to them, they did try to sign Van Persie and Eden Hazard this summer, but missed out on both. And City were clearly trying to cement their place at the top of English football, but it really didn't end up being a window like that. They obviously felt the signings they did, including two young English players in Rodwell and Sinclair, would be able to take the club forward, but none of those moves worked out, and the summer of 2012 has gone down in history as a missed opportunity. Manchester United, their worst window the summer of 2013. Yeah, it's pretty obvious. Sir Alex Ferguson and David Gill had both departed at the end of the 2012-13 title-winning season. Moyes had arrived from Everton. Thiago Alcantara, Leighton Baines and Ander Herrera were pursued, but typically fumbled before Marouane Fellaini arrived on deadline day for £4 million more than his £23 million release clause, which ran out 1 month earlier. United would of course crumble, going from champions to finishing outside the top 6, as the ageing squad that was in desperate need of replenishing was neglected, and this would ultimately become the story of Man United up until the present day. Newcastle, the summer of 1997. John Barnes, Stuart Pearce and Ian Rush. How was that a bad window? Well, because this was 1997, not 1990. Barnes was 33, Pearce was 35 and Rush was 35. Pearce, to be fair, was okay, and Barnes played in all but one of Newcastle's Champions League matches. Barnes was also Newcastle top scorer in the league, but with just 6 goals, and the entertainers of the previous season had been thoroughly dismantled. The Champions League run ended at the group stage and Newcastle finished 13th in the Premier League. The cherry on top, they signed Paul Dalglish, the son of then manager Kenny Dalglish, and I can tell you now, he was nowhere near as good as his dad. Nottingham Forest, their worst window January 2020. Before Cooper there was Sabri Lamouchi. Under Lamouchi, Forest enjoyed a brilliant first half of that season. There were a few dips here and there, but by the end of January, they were knocking on the doors of automatic promotion. The first 11 was good, but the thing that might have pushed them over the line was a few quality additions that January. Now it would be unfair to blame the players who did arrive for the eventual collapse that would see them miss out on the playoffs altogether, but it did feel fitting that one of them, the striker Nuno da Costa, scored an own goal on the final day defeat that meant Forest would not make the playoffs. They basically all weakened their squad in January and completely messed up their hopes of promotion midway through the season, all because of poor recruitment. Southampton, their worst window, the January 2018 window. 6 words from January 2018 for enough to bring back nightmares. Southampton signed Guido Carrillo for 19 million. A few years on from the dreamy days of beating Inter Milan in the Europa League, and Southampton's infamous black box seemed to be faltering. Locked in a relegation battle under Mauricio Pellegrino, these were desperate times. Needless to say, striker Carrillo, the only rival in that window despite the sale of Virgil van Dijk, was not the answer. 0 goals at a cost of 1.9 million per appearance, and this signalled the start of a decline for Southampton. Tottenham. Their worst window for summer of 2013. Supporters had to deal with the pain of waving goodbye to Bale in 2013, and to make matters worse, Tottenham wasted the 85 million they received on Roberto Soldado, who managed more goals in one season at Valencia than 76 appearances for Spurs. Eric Lamela, who was a cult hero now but never truly fulfilled his potential. Paulinho, who lasted 2 years before moving to China. Nasir Chadli, who was a good bench option, but Eddie Nketiah and Vlad Kikeres were rubbish. Apart from Lamela, the only other signing who qualified as a success was Christian Eriksen. He did well, however, one good signing from 85 million, which back then would have felt like 150 right now. Yeah, that's pretty bad. West Ham, the summer of 2022. In the summer of 2022, West Ham spent 165 million on Scamacca, Paqueta, Emerson, Tilo Guerra, Cornet, Flynn Downs, Areola and Nayef Aguerd. This was the most they had ever spent in a transfer window. But integrating 8 players into the team proved difficult for manager David Moyes, which led West Ham to lose 5 of their first 7 league games. Scamacca and Guerra have since joined Atalanta and Monaco after flopping horribly. Cornet has been an underwhelming signing, while West Ham are open to offers for Aguerd and Flynn Downs has left for Southampton. Only Paqueta, Emerson and Areola have improved the side and remain at the club after just 2 years. Even then, Paqueta may end up getting a lifetime ban from football to make this an even worse window. And finally we have Wolves, whose worst window was the summer of 2011. It may seem difficult to beat the summer of 2022 when Wolves spent a combined 80 million on Mateus Nunes, Gonzalo Guedes and Nathan Collins, but at least that side avoided relegation. 11 years earlier came a window just as poor, but with worse consequences, as Wolves broke up the limited but spirited squad Mick McCarthy had built, and signed the higher profile duo of Roger Johnson and Jamie O'Hara. It was supposed to take the club to the next level. Unfortunately, it took them to a new level, but the next level was down. 2 relegations in 2 seasons were the result of disturbing dressing room dynamics, and a poor squad which was broken up in the summer of 2011. So there we go, that is every club's worst window. If I had to pick the worst one out of all of them, maybe I'm biased because I'm a Chelsea fan, but it's got to be that window 2017. We literally didn't have one good signing, and we spent a bucket load of money. We went from Premier League champions to finishing outside the top